In this video, we are going to talk about concepts of overriding in Java. So the whole video is divided into two parts. First is basic, and in basic we will cover what is overriding, why should we do overriding, and common examples related to overriding. In advanced part, we will look overriding concept with respect to access modifier, overriding concept with respect to exception, overriding concept with respect to static final and private method, overriding concept with respect to constructor, overriding concept with respect to abstract method, overriding concept with respect to covariant return type. So let's first understand what is overriding. In Java, overriding is a concept where you are implementing a particular business logic in child class or subclass. So in child class, the method definition should be same as the parent class. Overriding is an example of runtime polymorphism. Now, the question is, if you are doing overriding, which method will be invoked? It will be invoked from parent class or child class. This depends on the object creation. So, method invocation depends on type of object being referenced. For example, if you're creating a parent object, parent method call will happen. So you can create a parent object like parent p is a reference equal to new parent. So here I'm creating object of parent and p is a reference. So obviously any method call that will do with p as a reference will call the method from parent class. Another way is if you create child object, child method call will happen. Now, creation of child object can be done in two ways. First, with reference to child, and another is with reference to parent. So, you can create a child object and has a reference to parent, or you can create a child object and has a reference to child. In both cases, child method will be called. Now, why overriding? When you want to perform a specific business logic in subclass or child class, then go for overriding. First, we will look at basic concept of overriding. So here we have a parent class, and inside parent class we have a print method, and here we have a child class, and in order to override the method of parent class, I need to extend child class with parent. So using extend keyword for inheritance. Now, if you see the signature of this print statement, that is public void, is same as it was used in public void in parent. So for overriding, method signature and definition statement of method remains same in case of parent and child. So here in parent we have public void print, and in child also we have public void print. Now we will create an object of child, and with reference to child then we will call th.print. Now let's run the program to see the output. In the console you can see inside child print is printed, that is the part inside print statement of child class. So now let's comment this for a few while and create another object of child with reference to parent. So parent ch equal to new child, and using ch reference we can call print statement. Again we will run the program to see the output. In the console, you can see the output statement is inside child print. It was same as using this child ch equal to new child. Again, for a moment, now we will comment this, and instead of child object, we will create a parent object and assign a parent reference. So parent p equal to new parent. And using p reference, call print statement. Now again, run the program to see the output. So here you can see we have a change in the output statement, and it is inside parent print, which is the same as we have written inside print method of parent class. So if you look at these three creations of object and reference, one thing is clear, that method invocation depends on the object created. For example, when we have created child object, irrespective of the reference, whether it is child or parent, this print statement of child class is getting called. When we have created a parent reference, then the print statement of parent class is getting called. So the first point to remember in case of overriding is the overriding method in child class or subclass has the same method definition that is used in the parent class. Second point, method invocation depends upon the object creation, not on the reference. So this was all about the basics of overriding. Now go to the class child with access modifiers.java, and in Java, we have four access modifiers, that is public, protected, default, and private. And here arrow signs show from the highest accessibility to the least accessibility. So if you have noticed, in parent class, the access modifier of print method is public. In child with access modifiers class, we have print method and its modifier is also public. So if we call now print method with object of child class and reference also child class, so let's see what will be the output. Here we have no compilation error. Now change the access modifier in parent class to default or protected. Let's say protected, and again run child class. Again, print method is executed without any compilation error. Now in parent class we have protected as access modifier. Now in child class, change from public to private. And now try to run the program. So in the console you can see we have compilation error, and it is saying that we can't reduce visibility of inherited method from parent. So if you have a look, in the parent we have protected as access modifier, and in the child class we have private. So if you see this rule, private is least accessible than protected. So with overriding concept, this is not possible. So the point here to remember is, with case of overriding and access modifier, that in a child class, access modifier should be more generic and broader than parent. So if in parent we have protected in child we could have only public. If in parent we have default, so in child we could have protected or public. So let's check with default. So in case of parent, just remove this protected. Now we have default access modifier and again go to child class, and instead of private we could have protected here. Now try to run the program again. Now here you can see without any compilation error, print method is executed. So with respect to overriding and access modifiers, always remember that in child class, access modifiers will be more generic and broader than parent. Now we will look at the concept of overriding with respect to exception. So go to child with exception.java. Now extend this child with exception class with parents for overriding concepts. And here we will create an object of child with exception class and reference also. And call print method. Now the first rule with exception with respect to overriding is if parent method does not throw any exception, then child overriding method should throw only runtime exception or no exception. So let's verify this. In parent, we have a print method that is not throwing any exception. Now, if in child with exception class, that is a child class, with parent, if we throw a runtime exception, let's see what's happened. Now, we will execute this. You can see without any compilation error, we are getting inside child print. That is possible only when this print method is executed. Now check with no exception. So remove this throws runtime exception. So here the print method in child class is not throwing any exception. Again execute this. So again you got inside child print without any compilation error. Now let's throw a compile time exception. So use throws exception. Now again try to execute this. So in the console you can see we have an error and it is saying unresolved compilation problem. This is because in child overridden method you are throwing a compile time exception, but in parent you are not throwing any exception. So remember the first point, if parent method does not throw any exception, child overriding method can only throw runtime or no exception. Now coming to the second point with respect to overriding and exception. So the second point says if the parent method throw compile time exception, then the overridden method in child class can throw same label or sub-label of exception, or any runtime exception, or no exception at all. So let's verify this also. So in parent, we will throw exception, that is a compile time, and in child class we are also throwing the same label of exception. So let's add a try catch to handle this. Now we will execute this program. Now here you can see in the console, without any compilation error, we have printed inside child print. Now remove this compile time exception from child print method. Let's execute this program again. So in the console, you can see again inside child print statement is printed without any compilation error. Now let's throw a runtime exception, say throws runtime exception. So in our parent class, we have a compile time exception, and in our child class, the print method is throwing runtime exception. So let's execute again this program. In the console, you can see the output without any compilation error. If a parent method is throwing a compile time exception, then child overriding method has thrown same level of exception, runtime exception, or no exception. Now let's check what happens if the child overriding method throw sub level of exception or exception at a level greater than the parent level. Now we will replace this runtime exception with file not found exception. So this file not found exception comes at a sub level with respect to compile time exception, that is in the parent class. So here we have exception, and in the child we have a sub exception, that is a file not found exception. So let's run this program again. Again you can see in the console inside the child print is printed without any compilation error. In the parent, let's make this file not found exception, and in the child let's make an exception that is higher in a hierarchy than file not found. So again execute this program. So in the console you can see the exception is not compatible with throws clause in parent print. So here you can see because this file not found exception in parent class is a sub-level exception of this exception. So with respect to overriding and exception, remember these 2 points. First point says if parent method doesn't throw any exception, so in child class and overriding method you have only runtime exception or no exception. If second point says if parent method throws compile time exception, then in child overriding method you have same label or sub label of exception, any runtime exception, or no exception. So let's go to child with static final and private.java. Again, to understand the concept of overriding, we need this class to extend parent, Now we will create an object of child with a static final private and reference to child with a static final private. And we will call print method. Let's add static keyword with print method. Now print method in parent is static, and in child, if you're trying to override without making it static, let's see what happens. So you are getting a compilation error saying this instance method can't override static method from parent. So one point is clear. If in parent, if you have a static method and in child class, you are going to override that static method, you will get compilation error. Similarly, vice versa also happens. If in child you have a static method and in parent you have a non-static method, and again you are going to override that method, again compilation error will happen. So in the console you can see again we are getting this static method can't hide instance method from the parent. Now what if in the parent we have again static print method, and in the child also we have a static print method. So if you're going to call print now, let's see what happens. So it is printing inside child print. So this print method belongs to this child with static final private class. So it is calling this system.out.println that is inside print method. Now we will change the reference to parent, and we will have object of child with static final private class only, and we'll execute this program once more. So here you are seeing a twist, that is inside parent print got printed without any compilation error, but this statement was in print method of parent class. In child class we have created an object of child with static final private and have reference to parent. So earlier we have remembered that if we create an object of child, then method of that class only will be getting printed. Now here this twist happened because you have a static keyword present. So remember this point with respect to static, that is if you have a static method present in parent class and overridden method in child class that is also static, and you are creating an object of child with respect to parent, then parent method will be executed. Child method will not be executed. It would be hide by the parent method. Let's verify the program with the final keyword and what happens. So instead of static, if we make this final, we know that in Java, if anything is final, its state if it is an object, or if it is primitive then value couldn't be changed. So here the print method is final. So in child class, if we remove static from now here and try to execute this program once more, so here you can see a Java exception is getting occurred, and it is saying that we are trying to override a final method. So with respect to overriding, if you have a final method in parent class, simply you can't override that method. Doing so will give you a compilation error. Now let's make this method private and remove a final keyword from here. Now here we have a print method that is private. We know that in Java, private is only accessible to that class. So this print method is only accessible to parent class. So if in child, if I try to override this print method, let's make this also private. Now if I'm trying to override this print method that is in child and have an object of child class and reference to parent, and if I'm trying to execute this program, we will get a compilation error. So we are getting a compilation error saying the method print from the type parent is not visible. So as earlier I have told, in parent this print method is private and private is only accessible to that class. So here this print method is only accessible to this parent. If you try to override a private method, it will give you a compilation error. Now if I change the reference to child class and again try to execute this program, here we are seeing the output inside child print. Now please do not confuse on seeing this execution properly without any compilation error. This is because you are accessing a print method that is private and you are trying to access it with object of a child class and reference to a child class, and this print method itself belongs to this child class. So it is very fine to access a private method from that class. That's why you are getting inside child print without any compilation error. Now let's move to the concept of overriding with respect to abstract. So go to child with abstract.java. Now go to the parent class and make this method abstract. And since this class contains an abstract method, class also needs to be abstract, and this method should not have the body because abstract method doesn't contain the body in Java. Now we will extend this parent class because in Java we know if anything is abstract, it needs to be implemented with a class extending it. So if child with abstract class is extending parent, then we need to add the unimplemented method. So here you can see this is actually not overriding, but with respect to abstract, if you have any abstract method in parent class, then the child class that is extending the parent class needs to have implemented those abstract methods. Now we will look at the concept of overriding with respect to covariant type. So let's go to the child with covariant type.java. If you don't know what is meant by covariant type, then let's understand covariant type and also overriding with respect to covariant type with an example. So here I have created a class called byte.java and I have not written anything inside that class. So it is simply a structure class, and I have also another class programming.java. So let's extend this programming class with byte class. Now here we have a parent-child relationship with parent being byte class and child being programming class. Now let's go again to child with covariant type.java and extend this class with parent class. Again here we have a parent-child relationship. Now go to parent.java and here in parent.java or the parent class we have a print method whose return type is void. Let's change the return type of print method to byte, and we need to add a return statement. So instead of returning null, let's say returning an object of byte. Now the print method of parent is returning an object of byte. Now go to the child class. So this child class is extending parent, and print method in this child class is also void. So let's change the return type of print method in this class to programming, and we need to add a return statement here. So adding return an object of programming. Now let's create an object of this child with covariant type class and reference with the child with covariant type, and call a print method. Now let's execute this program. So in the console you can see inside child print is getting printed without any compilation error. So if you look in parent, we have the return type as byte, and in the child we have return type as programming. Now this programming is actually a subclass because here we have extended programming with byte. So this is called covariant type. In the child class you have an overridden method whose return type is actually a subclass of the method that is present in the parent class. So a covariant type is also possible with respect to overriding in Java. So this was all about the concept of overriding in Java. If you think the knowledge that I am trying to give you in these videos through my programming channel Byte Programming is good, you can encourage me either by subscribing to my channel or liking or disliking the videos as well. You can also give feedback in the comment section.